Well, good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, wherever you are tuning in around the world. I hope you're staying safe and healthy. Welcome to the 12th episode of the Voices of Sustainability virtual fireside chat series. I'm Scott Armstrong. I am the editor-in-chief of Arabian Business, and I am pleased to be hosting this episode of Voices of Sustainability, the virtual fireside chat series of the Zayed Sustainability Prize. Now, the Zayed Sustainability Prize was established in 2008 as the United Arab Emirates Pioneering Global Award for recognizing organizations and global high schools for their sustainable, innovative, and humanitarian solutions. Today, the prize counts 14 years of global impact, with 370 million people around the world benefiting from its winners' solutions across categories such as health, food, energy, water, and global high schools. Before I go on to set the scene for today's episode, I'd like to introduce you to four people far smarter than I, our guests today. Agbor Ashu, who is the co-founder and medical director of Healthlane. Nidhi Pant, who is the co-founder of S4S Technologies. Thomas Rieger, who is the CEO of Solarkiosk, and Chong, who is the chief marketing officer for Wateroam. Welcome to you all. So we're having this conversation on Earth Day, and through this year's theme of Invest in Our Planet, we are encouraged to act boldly, innovate broadly, and implement equitably. It's really all about building a partnership for the planet with all involved, from businesses and governments to citizens, everyone accounted for and everyone accountable. So let's get into the discussion. I'm really excited to have this conversation today. We'll focus to start with, if we may, on the challenges that we face. And Nidhi, we're going to start with you. Climate change is significantly affecting agricultural production around the world. And in turn, our agricultural processes today contribute to the acceleration of the climate crisis. What are some of the other causes contributing to inequitable food access and malnutrition today? And how is your organization helping create sustainable food systems?
Thank you so much for the question. S4S stands for Science for Society. We reduce food wastage in the agriculture supply chain and also helping farmers become processors. What we have seen as a result of supply chain is, as a result of climate change, is firstly droughts being extreme, monsoons being untimely. This is all hampering the cultivation as well as yield of the crops that the farmers have. And because of this, the fluctuations in the pricing, thus also pushing them back into poverty. We have just come out of pandemic, and the climate change also is aggravating the poverty in for the farmers. What we are doing is that we are trying to make them more resilient. First is that making them not only dependable on the crop that they grow, but also encourage if they can become processors. So if they have to store the produce, anytime there is a market fluctuation, they can preserve it for a longer period of time. Because through dehydration, we remove the water and increase the shelf life of the produce. This is what that they consume throughout the year, because the shelf life is increased to 1 year. So they are no longer dependent only on what they get in the market or what they are producing. They can store and preserve their produce, and also helping them earn an additional income if they want to sell the surplus produce to us. So through processing and giving them different income stream, and through preservation of produce, mitigating climate risk for the farmers, that's what my organization does.
I told the audience that I was joined by people far smarter than I. Lynn, access to safe water and sanitation services, it's a basic human right, isn't it? And a condition for every society to thrive. How is your organization fulfilling that mandate? And what are some of the key challenges around safeguarding water resources today?
Scott, indeed it is. So I'm Chong, I'm from Wateroam. Wateroam is a social enterprise and a water innovation company that develops portable water filtration devices for disaster relief as well as the rural areas. So right now, there's about 2 billion people in the world who does not have access to clean drinking water. That's 2 out of 7, right? So imagine if you're on social media, you have 700 friends, 200 of them are drinking contaminated water every single day. And this is a big issue because rapid development has brought a lot of benefits to us. You have increased our standards of living, improvement in wealth and healthcare, but the aggressive extraction of resources, including water, and then the indiscriminate dumping of industrial waste will also mean that our water quality all around the world is getting degraded really rapidly. So oftentimes, government regulations, doesn't catch up, which means that people who are benefiting from reaping the profits of extractions are not really paying for the cost of damage. And looking at this from a negative externality point of view, the price is paid dearly by people who do not have as much resources. So since 2014, we have worked very closely with various NGOs and through very purposeful collaborations and partnerships with humanitarian organizations and corporates, we have been able to provide about 200,000 people across 38 countries with clean drinking water. And with clean drinking water, individuals can have a healthier life. They can achieve their dreams and ambitions. And by living in a clean environment, they have greater confidence, and that will lead to a better improved quality of life. And we believe that through these positive changes, through water, we can help people work more productively, increase their employability, and make them have better access to better livelihoods.
That's inspiring work. You've clearly not looked at my social media feed, so I've barely got 7 friends, let alone 700. Agbor, I'm going to turn to you, if I may. Both food and water feed into health. So I'm interested in hearing for you, as we look to the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda, which is only 8 years away, what are the prevailing challenges around access to healthcare for all, and how is your organization addressing them?
Thanks so much, Scott. At Healthlane today, our mission is really to simplify the way people understand, the way they track, and they improve their health today. But people are not able to have this because, first of all, there is limited access to information. There is a lot of focus today around curative medicine. So waiting for people to fall sick and go to the hospital and give them the drugs and the medications and the prescriptions. But there is little information about how people can be able to prevent diseases, how people can be able to take charge of their health. And with the coming of COVID-19, it really exposed our healthcare system. I mean, things around washing of hands, putting on face masks, these are basic things that should normally occur if you have catarrh or you have cough, if you have a flu. These are normal things that should occur. But it's with the coming of some of these pandemics that we begin to tell ourselves, hey, look, there is need to begin to educate people about healthy lifestyle. There is need to educate people about supplementing even on vitamin C. There is need to help people not to become diabetic, because those that had chronic conditions were those that had chronic conditions easily contracted the COVID-19 and easily died due to COVID-19. So at our level, what we are trying to do is really promote a lot of preventive health care. So what we are doing is that we encourage a lot of people to do preventive health checks, and that's really basically just having a comprehensive overview of what their health is like, and also giving them personalized care plans. And this is really educating them about what they need to live healthier, and telling you don't need to fall sick before going to the health facility. So we are setting up facilities that are just focused on prevention, understanding your baseline, and giving you preventive health tips and personalized care plans for you to be able to live healthier and even longer. And we believe that we are also we are using digital tools to be able to enable people, help them live longer, help them live healthier by having just access to this information. So these are some of the things that we are doing at Healthlane currently in order to be able to help people improve their health today.
Thank you, Agbor. Thomas, you've been patient, but I want to turn to you. Energy is the sector to which climate crisis is most often attributed to. Yet energy access is also key to sustainable development. So what are the remaining obstacles for universal energy access today, which I think is an issue that's very much forefront at the moment? And how is your organization helping raise people out of energy poverty?
Scott, thanks a lot. It's a great question. I'm actually a very impatient person, but
well, thank you for bearing with us.
In this case, it was fantastic because I was listening very closely to what everybody here said, and it just, rings a bell with us because we've been around. And the basic for us, what everybody said, is to have energy, right? We started in 2011, and there was over 1 billion people in this world that didn't have access to electricity. We and other fantastic organizations have fought this and bring it down to still over 700 million people in this world that don't have energy. And it starts there because the SDG 7 says you need to bring everybody to get access to electricity. But it's contradictory, as you said, the more energy I bring, if I use fossil fuels, I have increased carbon emissions, which we also should reduce. To not have a negative impact on climate change. That is a conundrum in itself. But when we started back in 2011, we focus very much on those people that don't have access to electricity. So we went into the rural environments in Africa that Agbor and everybody else, I'm sure, knows very well. And at that time, it was about access to lighting. A simple light, maybe a mobile phone charge. That was the state of the art at that time. And, that was the most predominantly challenge to offer, lighting solutions to get rid of, the kerosene lamps and dry cell batteries and candles that people have been using, to cook and to have a light at home. The sector has since then, seen a rapid growth of this type of solutions. Hundreds of products were imported, 1 billion people that in the beginning reduced to 700 million people that don't have access to electricity. So there was a tremendous, rush to solve this challenge with renewable energies that don't have a negative impact on climate change, let's say. And among those, we ourselves have distributed hundreds of thousands of these products through sub-Saharan Africa. And even, the whole association got together to work in the Gogla, which everybody might know, which we have served on the board, for many, many years, that addressed all these challenges. But it has changed since then. And we have married the goal of energy poverty with poverty in general. So today, the trend in the energy sector goes to productive use appliances. And that means I can do something with electricity to bring people out of poverty and also to achieve other goals. Healthcare, as mentioned by Agbor, like Mr. Chong said, water, safe drinking water. Water is life, right? Even to farming, like dryers and pool houses, etc. We have tackled this productive use, energy, what we call PUE conundrum, a long time ago, and we have built sustainable places based on our eHub technology, which is a building that can be used in many ways that integrate solar to really reach the last mile, to go in those communities, have energy and do various things. We have empowered businesses, we have help them to generate more income because now they have electricity. That can start, with a simple mobile phone charging business, and it can go to have agricultural processing units, that can take input and bring them out. We have done, healthcare facilities. We talked about COVID. We have implemented and run COVID testing and vaccination centers in islands in Indonesia where there was no electricity. Otherwise, how are you going to do it, right? And then you can come in with fantastic digital tools to improve the healthcare situation and have preventative healthcare. But if you don't have a mobile phone that's charged, you cannot access digital tools, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It only works in a circle. Now we are going to launch the Pulse. We have invested ourselves in Rwanda in 69 sites. And those sites, there will be solar-powered productivity hubs for business, service, leisure, healthcare, entertainment. So we are, looking at the whole sector itself and not only at little pieces, bringing in fantastic partners, as all of you guys are. And while we have invested in this, we are really looking at, the investment sectors, the investors. And my question to you, Scott, is when will they come in? When will they leave the beaten path? And when will they jump on innovative companies like us that are working on the forefront, on pioneering this and really enabling us to change the world to be a better place for everybody? So I leave it there. I could talk much more about
I could talk to you about that for hours as well, Thomas, and the role of philanthro capital in actually doing good things in the world. I wanted to say thank you to you all for articulating the challenges so well. And I think it just puts into perspective, only sometimes we just take it for granted just how comfortable our life is. But when you talk about the billions and the millions and the hundreds of millions who are missing out on these vital, as we say, basic human rights, it shows you how important this conversation is today. And today, if we talk about today, it is Earth Day. And I'm obviously the editor of a business title, Arabian Business, and I'm very much focused on people before profit. So this first question is something that's very dear to my heart, which is the ROI of doing the right thing. It's Earth Day. Let's talk about, as almost you were saying there, Thomas, why investing in the planet is not just good for the planet, but it's also good for business. Why sustainability is not just for green companies, but it's a smart investment for all companies and their bottom lines. And as you finished off kind of talking about that investment space, Thomas, I'll start with you. I'll ask you your thoughts, and then I'd like to gather the thoughts of all the panelists. So Thomas, the ROI of doing the right thing, sustainability is good for the balance sheet.
I mean, like I just said before, it's about, we have several sustainable development goals. And while we're talking about energy, and like I said before, it's not only about solving the energy poverty, it's about solving poverty in general. And if you solve poverty in general, you avoid migrationary streams, you avoid, the expatriation of, great minds that from Africa go somewhere else, because there's no opportunities and there's no infrastructure to develop such things. You need to create an ROI. You need to create jobs. You need to, have people coming out of poverty in order to impact. And just, right now, it becomes even more apparent in where I live. I'm talking only about, those places where we work, but where we live, we thought we'll be safe and nothing will ever happen to us. What do we have now? Through wars, through the COVID crisis, through other things, we have actually finally found out something I said many years ago: our dependency on fossil fuels that dirty the planets is become so apparent, and now everybody is realizing this and start to jump on the sustainability train. But again, this is how many percent of the world is concerned about that. For us, always it's about, have everybody lifted out of poverty, and renewable energies can do that without the negative effect of carbon emissions. So that's where investment must go.
Lim, I'm going to turn to you next, because I could see you nodding vigorously as Thomas was talking. Yeah, your view on the ROI of doing the right thing.
Right. I think it's really interesting to think about how development and progress, social progress, are not something that is mutually exclusive, right? Mm-hmm. And we are looking at a positive sum game and not to look at things in just their silos. So like what Thomas had mentioned earlier, the energy, food, healthcare, and water nexus is something that is crucial for everyone. And what better way is there to solve these problems by finding innovative ways to actually tackle them? And we're talking about, factoring sustainability. It's not just an altruistic motive. There is selfish reason for why you should help other people. Because if you're able to uplift, people who are currently in less developed or who are in poverty, give them better education, give them better food, give them better productivity, they can move on to do, better things. And when you have people who are able to, come up with innovations and technology that is better for all of us, I think everybody wins. Which is why I think, the ROI shouldn't be just profits, right? But there should be a triple bottom line. It should be about profits, people, and the environment. I think that's the smart way to moving forward for all companies.
That's almost a mic drop moment there, but we've got to carry on. And Nidhi, I mean, your initiative is already trying to help, businesses actually be better businesses at, at that level. So I really want to get your thoughts on that as well. Why should companies be leaning into sustainability?
Because it helps in longevity. It helps the organization grow or take the longer part, make it more, it helps smaller organization become more defensible, because when sustainability is your core value and it is ingrained in your business, you don't have to do two different things. So it's financially viable also. And for larger organization, it is something that gives them that longevity as compared to their competitors. But one thing I would really want to highlight is the fact that it is democratizing and jobs to so many people. Just giving you an example, before decentralized or distributed food processing or farm factories, as we want to call it, there was only a few people who had access to capital, who could set up their factories, could employ other people, and also earn through value addition of agri-produce. So the someone who was producing the food was not benefiting much. So if you have 1 kg of, say, potato versus potato chips, you see that difference, what that value addition can bring. And this was only possible for a few other people. But now, using renewable source of energy, using solar power distributed system, where the farmers who are the most vulnerable don't have access to electricity, can use alternate source of energy options to also have the same amount of income generation. So they are not only dependent on government or anyone else to create these infrastructure. So it gives more power to people, and when these people come out of poverty, it is also improving the livelihoods of the entire nation, adding to your GDP, and it also democratizes energy access to everyone.
I mean, there's an interesting point Nidhi made there, Agbor, as well. And I wanted to kind of, a healthy population is a more productive population, but also then less money needs to be spent in treating the ill effects, and therefore governments and countries are better off and can invest more in their services. So that to me seems like a good ROI, but I'm going to get obviously an expert's view on why investing in healthcare and making an impact as you are is good for business too.
And thanks, Scott. I think you sound more like the expert there, because what you've really addressed is absolutely why it's important to invest in the planet. I mean, this is our planet, and we all need it to survive. Environmental conditions and hazards have been shown to lead to many of the diseases that we have today, from lung infections to diabetes, to the stress, to the environment, and every other thing that we have is linked to the environment. And environment here is not just about the air and the pollution, it's even about what we eat, how we eat it, the things that are being produced, all of these things, the type of water we drink, all of these things we need. By investing in all of these things, it's beneficial not just for the earth itself, but it's beneficial for us as individuals and for even companies as a whole to be able to thrive because of these healthy environment conditions.
I'm going to turn to the role of technology, if I can next, and the role of technology and innovation in addressing the challenges that each of you have mentioned. How can we ensure that these innovative solutions are accessible to the people who need them most? And Lim, I'm going to ask that to you first.
Yeah, I think what technology and innovation has helped us over the years is that it has allowed us to adopt a more decentralized form of technology and machines to solve problems. So look at it maybe 50 years ago or 20 years ago. If you want to build like a water filter plant, a water treatment plant, you will need millions of dollars. You will need lots of big resources to build an entire plant. And that would make sense if you are providing clean water for maybe a small town or a small city. But now, with climate change and with how with so many people being displaced by the changing climate, it doesn't make sense to use the old solution to solve the problems that we're facing in this century. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why at Wateroam we also believe in using engineering and just designing, finding ways to make solutions smaller so that it will fit small communities that are in dire need of clean water. So effectively, that's what we did. We deployed these systems, instead of a very centralized way of distributing water, which makes sense for a big city or big town. For this, towns that are distributed across archipelago islands in Indonesia and Philippines, this small portable solutions make so much more sense. And which is how we are able to give 100, 200 villages with clean water at one time. And we believe that actively thinking about how we can change solutions, make better products, is a way to be able to improve the lives of people. And that's the approach that we take when it comes to solving problems in the 21st century.
Thank you, Liv. Thomas, I'll tag you in here because you were talking earlier about the need for people to be able to charge their mobile phones to then access these digital technologies. So how do you get these technology into, as we asked the question, the people who need them most?
So to what you said, innovation is the key for it, right? And innovation will bring us forward because we need to address different levels of, like Lynn said, you need to innovate to bring these solutions even on the ground that makes sense, because it's also about affordability, right? You need to have the sense of this. Our R&D department, we always have been on the forefront of technology, but we cannot do it alone. I've described to you before, we have this holistic picture of tackling many, many issues, and we cannot do it alone, but there is a lot of innovative companies out there, that struggle all with the same, which is finances. But if you have finances coming into this and marrying with innovative solutions like we have, and I told you that before, you get the opportunity of really bringing them to the ground. And it's not only about innovation, it's also about when you have the innovation and you can produce them at scale to bring the prices down, how do you do your distribution reliably and cost efficient? How do you, market them right? And how can you achieve to sell them at affordable prices so that the people can really access them? So it's innovation, but innovation pushed to the next level where you really distribute, where you reach scale. Finance can help that. Operational excellence can help that. And partnerships is, for me, utmost important. Water, Lynn, healthcare, Agbor, they have to marry, and they go in environments where agriculture is important. So, only the wholesome picture and the partnerships and the finance coming into this innovative space to really make those solutions affordable and accessible, that's what's going to bring us further, I believe.
Nidhi, as well, I'm interested in your perspective on that. How do you develop that innovation, and how important is it to engage with the people who whose problems you're trying to solve? How much innovation kind of comes out of crowdsourcing their problems?
Absolutely, you have mentioned the right point that these innovations are all customer centric. Mm-hmm. These innovations are contextualized. These innovations are made so that the execution is viable and it is not some hunky-dory product that we make in the lab. Innovation, only when it is translated, changes something in the lives of people, is what we consider is the true innovation. And for this to happen, I completely agree with Thomas. The approach is definitely an ecosystem-driven approach, where at each step you take the customer journey and simplify things for them, solve the problems that they are facing to get an access to your innovation. That could be financing challenge, that could be market-driven challenge, or that could be just training and agency building. So at least for us, we have invested so that access to finance to women is easier. These women never had a bank account. These women were new to credit. They don't have any initial investment by their husbands or their family investing. So for our product to be have that access, we have to solve for the ecosystem and also get market involved, which is market driven innovation. And what does it does to them. First is reducing costs, increasing market share, making them more longevity, reducing costs, making it more longevity. I think that's how we do it.
And Agbor, I'll come to you last on this. I mean, innovation is not just about technology, though technology can help, isn't it? About education as well, and working with people whose health you're trying to improve.
Yeah, so that's correct. The first thing is there needs to be a patient-centric approach or a customer-centric approach in addressing some of the issues, because usually people will develop without the customers, and there is need to develop with the customers and understanding what the needs are and trying to address that particular need. A need would be someone today doesn't have the time to be able to come to the health facility. How can we bring the health facility to that person? And this could be just moving to that person. And today we have technologies around where you don't, for a blood draw, you have innovative ways in doing the blood draw, and they just send you the equipment and you just do it from your home, and you are able to have send back the samples, and they do the analysis, and you have your results available. What we are currently doing is as a result of technology, because we are able to have this conference, we are able to have this kind of thing from different countries as a result of technology. And how do we implement this also in the healthcare? For someone to be able to talk to a doctor and receive education from a doctor, even via telemedicine, which are things that help to improve access. And also using the smartphone as a device, it just also helps in terms of collaboration and people just accessing the information at every given point in time and just helping them improve their health.
Yeah, we've seen and we've reported here on Arabian Business the explosion in telemedicine around the world, and also the technology and smartphones. I'm going to ask each of you in turn, if I may, what the key trends that you are seeing and the opportunities for growth in each of your respective sectors today in order to meet the 2030 agenda. And I'm going to stay with you, Agbor, and ask that question to you first. Key trends, opportunities for growth in your sector in order to meet the 2030 agenda.
I think today, more and more people are becoming self-aware when it comes to their health, and more people are taking charge of their health. And I think a time is going to come when the hospitals are going to be disrupted, where the hospital is not going to be in the building, but it's going to be at the home of everyone or in the mobile phone of everyone. Yeah. And that's why that's the trend I see today. Many more people are becoming aware. Many more people are seeing the importance of eating healthy. Many more people are seeing the importance of exercising. And today, I believe that this is how people are going to be empowered to take charge of their health, to take charge of the environment. And this is just going to make people live healthier, longer, and become much more productive in what they are doing.
So Thomas, I'm expecting a good answer from you because I saw you sneak a sip of coffee there. What's the trends, the key trends in your sector, you think?
I scratched a little bit on it before. In the beginning, it was about bringing lighting, bringing maybe some mobile phone charging, and it was more about reducing cost and improving, the services that people could get from these type of technologies. And then it shifted, and today it's very much on the B2B front, away from the B2C front, where you talk about productive use of energy, where you talk about, commerce and industry that is using these technologies to advance. We are working with many clients, local companies, stakeholders in Africa and Asia that want to, go and collaborate on bringing those solutions on their respective markets. And again, it's the collaboration that we're after. When we are putting our ecosystems, I love what Nidhi said before. It's an ecosystem that brings together fantastic companies like companies that are here to really bring the wholesome picture into communities that have no infrastructure, no development. Really poor communities. Lift them out of the poverty and go to the next level. For us, it's to look at that and to look at the energy that we have available to improve different sectors away from, just giving a light, but to poverty reductions, to improvement of livelihoods, to go in the agricultural sector, go in the health sector, go in the water sector, go in the transportation sector, things that people are using and spending money on, and bring it to the next level. So this can be done sustainably, much better and much more efficient. And that is really the key to what we are doing and to what we're partnering and implementing.
Nidhi, Thomas there was talking about, you were talking about ecosystems and collaboration. Is collaboration going to be one of the key trends that you think will shape your sector, particularly as you look to that 2030 agenda?
Absolutely. Collaboration is going to be one of the very key ways in which we can meet the 2030 goal. We have seen that happening with a lot of momentum and alternate meat, how companies like Beyond Burger or Impossible Burgers are able to create that trend where there is an increased awareness of having a responsible choice in your food system. And second would be we produce enough. The problem is definitely distribution of this food and end hunger. So once that is done, that can only be done through more collaborative approach of research institutes, of on-ground agencies, as well as public distribution systems of any. And the third would definitely be giving more power to people who produce this food. So to farmers, keeping them at the center, making them aware about the climate change and the effect of climate change that is happening, giving them tools and empowering them with the right resources to safeguard a very healthy and a good food system.
Thank you. And Lim, when we're talking about opportunities of growth, I mean, in your sector, when you say there's 2 billion underserved customers potentially out there, the opportunity for growth in your sector must be huge. What do you think the trends that are going to drive that this year, and as we aim for 2030?
Yeah, I think since the 2000s, you can see that the rate of development in developing regions are growing really rapidly. And I think I attribute a lot of it because of the growth of the internet, the electrifications of many of these small villages, and basically their access to data. So you can see that there's a very big appetite for people who are living in the rural regions to want to actually be empowered. They want to have a better standard of living. And they want better water. They want better quality water as well. So I believe that in the area of water, there is a very big case for all parties, right? People from the non-profit sector, people from government, and people who are doing business to actually collaborate and work together, right? I think there's a lot of opportunities for because there's a lot of ground-up demand, for wanting to see change. And I think this is actually a very positive thing, amidst all this very negative news in recent history, right? Because I think people want to see change.
And Lim, I really liked what you said there. There was something you said there about access to data, which kind of dovetails nicely into my next question, which is how can we advance climate and environmental literacy so we drive global behavioral change amongst governments, companies, and individual citizens? And I'm going to stay with you, Lim, to answer that question, if you may.
I think, the short answer is education, but, I think it is very important for everyone to be involved in this process, right? I think when we look at, you hear 2 billion people don't have clean water, when you hear billions starving, when you hear there's so many people with a lot of these problems, it might feel very, very menacing. It might feel like, whatever you do, it is not enough. But I think it is the opposite. I think there is a lot of need for people to be able to share more positive news to each other, and also to see that these problems that we are facing now is actually solvable, right? And if every individual, citizen are able to make the right choice, vote for the right parties, right? People who are looking out for your interests, I think that is how we can effect real change. So individually, politically, socially, I think we need everything, right? We need everyone to be able to advance this, the need for climate and environmental literacy all around the world.
Well, that kind of dovetails back to the intro, doesn't it? Everyone accounted for and everyone accountable. I mean, Thomas, if you could stand at the bottom of Mount Everest and look up and think, I've got to climb that, you'd be quite daunted. But actually, if you just get on, start climbing and take it one step at a time, does that break the challenge down? Can everyone make a difference in this space?
Everybody can, and everybody has to. I mean, I'm unfortunately, the Mount Everest is nearer to Lynn than to me, but I have the mountains in the Black Forest. Climbing those, and even if you climb a mountain, you need to know which is the best route to go up there. Otherwise, you're gonna power yourself out, and you're not gonna reach the summit. New technologies of disseminating information, is on the rise. Needs energy, of course, to even be able to access the innovation, but should be used to let people know what is out there. Fantastic companies like present here. How would people know that they're around? How would you go to Eastern Java, Lynn, and somebody would know, oh, there's this technology that can give me, safe drinking water without falling sick, Agbor. I can consume this, and then, I can even use it for my agriculture, irrigation, etc. That's one solution, but as you said, it only works if everybody comes together. Lynn said, fully rightfully, it's about education. And the more I think about it, we and everybody who's present here is tackling actually somewhere where governments so far are lagging behind. Access to water, it should be a public service, and everybody should have access to drinking water. But I love that innovative companies are taking that over, and the same thing for healthcare, and the same thing for agriculture. So, while we are doing this, I expect that the other actors are equally coming into this space and helping to drive that behavioral change through education, through dissemination of information, through making the people aware that there's even a problem, but also that there are solutions, and the people should be able to have this information and demand them. And if the market demands solutions, it will increase, our effort to really reach them and give them the access to this.
Agbor, you're younger and far more handsome than I, but when I was growing up, there was a phrase which was said, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Is that very much, if we direct that at government and organizations and companies as well as individuals, does everyone, as our panelists have already said, the responsibility on everyone to be part of the solution?
Yeah, I think everyone has to be part of the solution, and most importantly, acting on the little knowledge that we have already. I believe that the little drops of water that make an ocean. So if people are able to act on the little information at their various levels, we're going to be able to achieve what we have to achieve. And that's why it's very important at the government level, at individual levels, to create cultures that enable people to be able to act on these. So when people begin to act, when people begin to take action, when people are empowered, Lim has spoken about people being empowered and education, but most importantly, it's acting on the little information and education that we have at all levels.
I'm definitely using that quote. It's the drops of water that make an ocean. Nidhi, try and follow that. Your thoughts on driving global behavioral change?
First is definitely to show case studies that this could happen. A lot of time people think that small actions don't have larger impact, but to encourage localized solutions where people can make differences in their own communities, and how then that can contribute to the a global coming together of change that is happening. So my thoughts in addition to what everyone said, is giving people tools and frameworks through which they can take action in their own communities.
I can see that time is against us and I could keep this conversation going for hours. I'm going to ask each of you what your plans going forward are for accelerating your organization's impact. And Nidhi, while I'm with you, I'll stay with you. What's your plans?
Our plan is to actually redefine food processing in a more decentralized manner and move away from central factories to creating farm factories that empower people and drive profits for them.
Lim, for you? Lim, sorry, you were on mute. The phrase of 2022.
Yeah, our goal is to be able to reach 30 million people by 2030 with with access to safe drinking water.
Thomas?
Our goal is to implement more of our, business and leisure and productive youth centers in Rwanda. After that, we are going to have Pan-African growth together, very strong partnerships to bring this really to everybody in Pan-Africa who deserves this kind of improvement for all the communities that are out there.
And lastly, Agbor, your plans for accelerating your organization's impact.
So our goal is really to enable people have access to primary and preventive healthcare information at the comfort of their home and mobile. And this is really scaling across different countries and across the regions in Cameroon and Nigeria where we are currently at.
And I'm now going to finish with my final question, which I think is probably my most difficult question for you all. In one word, how would you describe the future of sustainability? Agbor. And you're on mute.
Health.
Well worth it. Nidhi?
It's profit with and people-centric innovations driving profits.
We'll go with people-centric for your one word. Lim? Change. Love it. Thomas, I believe that leaves the mic drop moment to you.
For me, it's bright, because the future of sustainability is bright, because without sustainability, there is no future.
That was a pretty good mic drop. Inspiring words from all of you. I'd like to just take this moment before we tune off, just to say thank you to all of my guests today. Agbor, Nidhi, Thomas, Lim. I mean, look, inspiring work that you're all doing. And thank you for joining us today on the Voices of Sustainability virtual fireside chat. I'd also like to thank you, the audience, for tuning in today on Earth Day. If you've caught part of the discussion and you want to see more of it, and I really encourage you to do so, you can find the full video on the Zayed Sustainability Prize's YouTube channel, and I believe also on their Facebook channel. And from me, Scott Armstrong, the editor-in-chief at Arabian Business, thank you very much and stay safe.